going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 10 of the Diego Colley Football Show. Got a good episode. They got a lot to talk about. Going to start the episode talking about the Seahawks Cardinals. Seahawks victory over the Cardinals that feels like it was weeks ago after the weekend we just had. Going to go right into the Husky game from there, and then we're going to get into the rest of the NFL and the college weekend. So let's start with the Seahawks, man. Seahawks pull off a win in Arizona, Thursday night football. Stuff gets weird on Thursday nights, 23-20. In a game that the Seahawks dominated. This was a dominating Seahawks win, and I think this game showed, but it should have been an overall dominant Seahawks win. And I think this game showed the potential, the max potential that this team has. And that's dangerous for other teams around the league. This was a game that midway through the third quarter felt like something that people could have turned off and went to sleep on a late Thursday night and be like, all right, they're going to go up 3 scores. And this game's going to be over. The Cardinals never had a pulse. First half was negated by turnovers from them. And what do you know? Jason gets called for a little phantom holding call and lets the Cardinals back into the game. And quite frankly, towards the end of the game, a game that the Seahawks very easily could have lost. In all honesty, I mean, we'll start at the beginning. The story of this first half was, I think, the Cardinals' shortcomings on offense and just the Seahawks' defense's ability to make Kyler Murray uncomfortable, to negate the run game. This is a Cardinals offense that prides itself on the power running. And yes, they did lose James Conner the week before, unfortunately, to the season-ending injury, but they hold Trey Benson to 8 carries, 35 yards, only averages 4 yards a carry. Kyler Murray's the leading rusher, 5 carries, 41 yards, and the bulk of that came towards the end of the game on a few big scrambles. And in that first half, the Cardinals they had nothing. There was nothing that they had for the Seahawks defense. You do have to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. You got to give it up to him. He turned it around. He had a really rough first half. He obviously had that drop pass that resulted directly in an interception, and that was a great ball by Kyler on third down. I believe hit him right in the helmet. Drops it, goes into Ernest Jones' hands, gets the interception going the other way, and then Seahawks also giving him more opportunities to get points on the board. I mean, Kobe Bryant picks off a pass, looks like a little miscommunication. Marvin Harrison Jr. stops running, fumbles, ends up, I think it was a weird call. From what my indication of the rule is, he wouldn't do a slide, and anytime you go into a slide, that you're going as giving yourself up. His shin touched the ground, too. Tyrese Knight kind of runs into him, but I thought it was pretty clear he was going into a slide, unless the rest maybe thought he slipped, which in that case he wouldn't be down, but I thought it was clear into a slide. I thought it was a little bit unlucky, and the Seahawks came back. They rebounded. It was an interception, and they kind of get a little screwed over, in my opinion, and the Cardinals go down and score a touchdown. They ended up holding them in the red zone, hold them 3. Before that, a little bit of a frustrating start for the Seahawks offense. They had that turnover on downs early in the game. I like the decision to go for it. It's 4th and a yard, and Clint Kubiak puts them in shotgun and hands it off to Zach Charbonnet to the right side for a loss of yards. And McDonald talked about it after the game. It's kind of a nice part about having a Thursday night game. I've had 3 days to think about, kind of watch back, read stuff about the game. McDonald said he misdiagnosed the situation, and going back to it, he probably would have ran the tush push with AJ Barner, which I don't know why we haven't ran that in like 2 weeks. It seems like it's a free yard every time at least, and this was definitely a half yard. So maybe I don't know if Mike thought that he needed more than a yard to gain, if that information was miscommunicated to him in this headset. But the Seahawks have to learn to take advantage of these short yardage scenarios on 3rd, 4th, and 1 if they're going to win big games late into the season. That's a big issue early in this season, is their play calling and execution on 4th and short and 3rd and short. But the defense was dominant, honestly. It was dominant in that first half for majority of the game, and another person I have to say, probably the player of the game in my opinion for the Seahawks, was Sam Darnold. Once again, I thought this was his best game overall. He didn't turn the ball over. I can't even think of a play, going back thinking of it, where he even put the ball in harm's way. Even his incomplete passes were in only a spot where his guy could catch. He was 18-26, 242 yards, 1 touchdown. Got sacked 3 times, had a QBR of 75, quarterback rating of 111. I mean, I'm just thinking to a few of his incomplete passes. There was that bomb over the middle, deep to Torrey Horton, where The defender made a great play, but it hits him in his chest. He gets broken up, but that play was never. That's a ball like about 50 yards on the field. Was never in a chance to get intercepted. The play where Elijah Arroyo draws the pass interference in the end zone. That's a dime where he gets pressure to someone in his face. He backs up on. If you're watching the game on the broadcast, you think he's probably throwing it away. And no, it's in the breadbasket to Elijah Arroyo. The defender has to drape over him to draw the pass interference, but he was perfect. He was perfect. And people can give other people shout outs. He doesn't get enough shout outs himself, but this was a game where I thought he was pressured a decent amount. I mean, just on the eye test, it's not like his offensive line was giving him perfect pockets all day. I mean, he was only pressured 13 times, sacked 3 times. But I mean, if you're looking at the PFF grades on the Seahawks offensive side, his offensive line didn't have their best day. Jalen Tundell grades out at a 56. Anthony Bradford grades out at a 59. Probably his worst game of the year. 32 grade in the pass blocking, which that kind of shows up just on watching the game. Charles Cross at a 61, which is pretty average. Abe Lucas grades out pretty well at a 72, but he wasn't given the easiest scenarios. This was a gritty Cardinals defense that wasn't making it easy for him. The Cardinals defense that seemingly took away JSN in that first half. And a lot of the questions with the Seahawks offense throughout the year has been, what will happen if someone does take JSN away? And I've always been of the camp that I don't think JSN's a guy you can completely eliminate. He's always a guy you can get the ball. Kubiak in the first half, even though he didn't have a target, they did do a decent job. They gave him a few jet sweep reverse, just getting the ball in his hands. But I mean, you got to throw him the ball. He's a guy. It's not like he's one dimensional. He can impact the game in a lot of ways. You got to find a way to get him a target early in the game. But the Seahawks offense in the first half wasn't a problem. I mean, they had that 7-play, 77-yard drive where I love the involvement of Elijah Arroyo in this game. Without Robbie Utes, with him being on the IR, they aren't going to be in a full fullback because Brady Russell doesn't bring you the same presence as a fullback that Robbie Utes does, quite frankly. So they're going to bring in a tight end more. And to get your second-round tight end involved and showing the signs that he showed was it was just a huge, great sign for the Seahawks offense. I mean, if you look at it, he only had 2 receptions for 44 yards, but his impact on the game, that play that should have been a touchdown that negates it, that's like a 20-yard touchdown game. I mean, in my head, they go down and score the next few plays. But just having his threat, I mean, I'm thinking of that play down deep down the right side where Darnold rolls to the right and he's got Josh Sweat on him, a defensive end, and he has the trust in his rookie. It doesn't matter who's on him. He has the trust in his rookie tight end to throw a 50-50 ball, and he's going to make the catch. And yes, it's a guy that doesn't have great ball skills on the defensive side, but just to show that trust, just to have that ability to throw the 50-50 ball in the air, you're going to trust him to make that catch. And that was really impressive. And the 2-minute drill before half, around 2 minutes, and they get the ball by 4 minutes left to go, starts with that 32-yard pass to Arroyo down the sideline. And then Darnold using his legs to scramble up the middle was something that was a great sign to see, because I feel like there's been more times this year where there's a lane for Darnold to run and he hasn't necessarily done it. He's looking to throw the ball, which is perfectly fine. But to show you can do that, to escape for that 24-yard gain, to just have that ability, the defense knows Darnold can run if the lane's there. That's just a big thing to have, in all honesty. And going to the second half, it was at halftime, I didn't have a stress in the world at all. I mean, it's 14-3, and the Cardinals offense hindered by 2 turnovers that probably weren't Kyler's fault. They haven't shown anything. There's no deep play. It's not like there was nothing that was worrying me going into the second half. And that continued for a majority of the game. And when you go down the first drive of this third quarter, you're getting the ball and you get 3. So you're up 2 touchdowns and you force another punt. And it's like this game should be over. You end up going on a 3 and out. It's 17-6 going into the fourth quarter. And you have what should end up being a game-sealing drive. I thought the drive was fantastic. Their use of the run game, I thought, was fantastic in this game. Kenneth Walker runs 90 times for 81 yards. Charbonnet goes 12 for 39. And Kenneth Walker is a guy he's frustrating to watch, because when the line is blocking well and they're making run gaps, it's beautiful. It is beautiful. The explosion through the line of scrimmage to gain at least, he always consistently gets past that first level. And that's something with Charbonnet, it feels like you don't always see. He'll break past the lineman and he doesn't have the ability to quite frankly make that one cut move or make one guy miss and explode in the secondary where Walker does. And it's like you see that and you're like, this guy can be a real stud. And then there's some plays, this happened multiple times in this game, especially last week, where the line doesn't block very well. And that's not Kenneth's fault, but the line doesn't block very well. And the play's kind of blown up in his face. And instead of just running through a guy to maybe no gain or gain a yard or two, he just tries to make the hero play and spins backwards, loses 4 yards, and tries to reverse back the field. And that's just a killer sometimes. And with all the pluses he has, sometimes it's just so frustrating to watch because with an offense, how the Seahawks are trying to run the offense, putting yourself in a 2nd and 13, 2nd and 14, even 2nd and 12 is just, almost a drive killer almost every time, which is why he's so frustrated because the skills are there and just, it's just him trying to do a little too much in times you don't need to. We can do 2nd and 10, we can do 2nd and 9, but when you get to 2nd and 13, 14, it's almost like a penalty. It's just an absolute killer. But going back to that drive, which should have clinched the game, they're using Charbonnet in these reliable scenarios, but they're going back and forth. And you're in the 7-yard line, Charbonnet runs in what should be a touchdown, and you're going to get a hold on JSN. You show the replay, and the guy just kind of runs through his face, and you get called a hold. And I'm watching the game, I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, Arizona hasn't been able to do anything, and it was still 1st and goal, and they ended up not being able to punch it in. So you go back up 14, and it's like, all right, like the game should have been over. Arizona hasn't moved the ball all day, whatever. What do you know? They moved the ball down to 8, and in 3 minutes, 8 plays, 73 yards. And in this scenario, okay, you're up 7 points. Going into the fourth quarter, 6 minutes ago, you get the ball back. And this is kind of the only, I think Mike McDonald obviously is a defensive mastermind, but the one thing that I feel like has come up a few times this year is his passiveness in certain scenarios where you can be aggressive. So you get the ball back with 6 minutes to go and you move it down the field quickly. You hit JSN on that beautiful stop and go up the sideline, which was his first real impact play of the day. And it's like, where has this guy been? You get it to, you are 1st and 10 on the Arizona 38. And at this point in time, there's 4 minutes to go in the game, and a first down or two probably ends it. Even if you don't end up getting the end zone, a first down or two, you get it to a 40-yard field goal, chip shot. The game's over. And instead of really trying to like put the dagger in, put the nail in the coffin, a 1-yard run to Kenneth Walker, 0-yard run to Kenneth Walker in 2nd and 9, and then you hand it off on 3rd and 9 and 4th and 7, and you give your kicker a 53-yard field goal, and he ends up missing it. He pushes it wide right, which happens. You expect him to make it, but just a little bit too much complacentness in that scenario. In that scenario for me, in this situation where Darnold, I thought all day, there was no reason you didn't have any reason to not trust your quarterback. Sam Darnold hadn't given you anything in this game, or quite frankly, all season, where in times where he knows he needs to take care of the ball, you got to trust that he's going to take care of the football. If you let Sam Darnold throw there, I don't think there's any thing in my head that tells me that he's going to make a stupid decision and try to force a ball into traffic. I think he's shown multiple times. And McDonald said after the game, I think he said it on Brock and Salk in the morning, that he loves how Sam, when something's not there, he'll just dirt the ball. So in a scenario like that, when you have a chance to put the game away, give the ball to your quarterback. And if something's not there, trust him to make the right decision. I think that's something that I hope will grow as the season goes on, the trust in Sam Darnold in situations like this to ice a game, to get the ball to JSN, who's been a big time. He's continued to show up and make big time plays time and time again. Get it to Cooper Kupp, get it to your tight ends who you're gaining trust to. But that could have been a game losing scenario, because on the next drive, after you force Myers to kick a 53-yarder, Kyler Murray moves his team down the field. You got to give him props. He converts a big 4th down and 4. Michael Wilson makes a great one-handed catch on the left side, and he moves it down the field. And Devin Witherspoon misses a tackle on the first thing, 2nd and goal, and they score. And I thought they were going to go for 2. Quite honestly, there was 30 seconds left when he scored. And if you ask me, if I'm the Arizona coach, and I know Jonathan Gannon, more of a defensive coach, comes from a more defensive mind, wants to trust his defense. But McDonald said he thought he was going to go for 2. I think if McDonald's in the same situation, you go for 2. And I think the right analytical play is to go for 2 on the first touchdown. That's kind of what has happened more in the last few years is you're down 14 and you score in the fourth quarter. You go for 2 because theoretically, if you miss the first one, you have two 2-point plays. He doesn't go for those 2 the first time, whatever. But you score with 30 seconds to go, and you had no business being in this game for Arizona. I think I was scared they're going to go for 2 and they were going to get it, and the Seahawks were going to lose the game. But they kick it, and the Seahawks are again on the right side of this new kickoff rule. They continue to be on the right side of it. I think this one way out of their control. The kicker doesn't land it in the landing zone, but you effectively only need to hit JSN for one pass down the field, and that's what they do. Darnold hits a great back shoulder throw to JSN. They continue to be perfectly on the same page in these clutch situations, which is another thing you love to see. And in this situation, again, I'm going to talk about it. And then ends up working out, but there's, I believe, 18 seconds left, and you have 1 timeout. And at this point, it's a 56-yard field goal. And I'm like, all right, 1 pass in the middle, get up and spike it or use your timeout. And they decided to hand off to Charbonnet, which I didn't hate it. He gets tackled, I believe, with 12 seconds to go. I'm like, all right, call a timeout. You can try to push the ball towards the sideline. If not, you kick it, whatever. And instead of even trying to do anything to move the ball forward, they're fine with settling for a 52-yard kick, which, I mean, it ends up working out. But when your kicker just missed the 53-yarder on the previous possession, I mean, you just think you wouldn't want to settle for kicking almost an identical kick to win the game. And if you miss it, you're going to overtime on a team that has scored its last 2 possessions on a touchdown. You've been stopped your last few possessions. I mean, not necessarily like they haven't stopped you from moving the football, but all the momentum was there. So this was a game that the Seahawks definitely could have lost if you're looking at the end of the game, and maybe not deserved to, because they outplayed the Cardinals all day. But Cardinals decided to go for 2. Myers misses the kick. Who knows what happens in overtime when your defense hasn't got to stop in a few possessions. They're fortunate, but this game on a bigger picture, I mean, obviously some stuff happens at the end, but this was a game the Seahawks dominated. And I think this shows that the defense, they're in need of a big play pass rusher. That's the one thing I got from this. The offense, I thought was this is probably their most well-rounded game on offense all day. They should have had that touchdown to put it up 27 to they should have had 27 points instead of taking that field goal. Or no, it would have been more than that because they had 17. So it should have been like 24, and then who knows what happens at the end of it. But I thought consistently they ran the ball well, and their passing game was some of the best mirroring it has been all year. Maybe bar that Saints game, but against a quality opponent. And the line didn't have its best day. I will say that. Gray Zabel, I didn't think he played his best game as a pro, which is going to happen as a rookie. I thought Calais Campbell played pretty fantastic for the Cardinals defense. But on the defensive end, it just felt like time and time again, they got them to that 3rd down. They got them to that 4th down, and they end up winning the game, obviously. And the defense was pretty great all day, I thought. But they just didn't have the guy there that was like, all right, I'm trusting that this guy's going to go make a huge play on 3rd down and blow it up in Kyler Murray's face. I mean, this is picking at straws here because defense played really, really good. They had 23 pressures, 6 total sacks on Kyler Murray. Believe I saw a stat was most times he's been sacked in the game in a few years at least. I might be totally wrong on that, but DeMarcus Lawrence only plays 10 snaps. I believe that was an eye injury, they said, so hopefully he should be fine in coming up. He got almost a bye week with this week, obviously, with the Thursday night game. Byron Murphy checks in with another 2 pressures. He continued to play great throughout this early season. Devin Witherspoon graded out well at a 78, but he was a guy that I still thought constantly was beating coverage a little bit. Maybe that was just on the eye test and that some of that wasn't his responsibility, but he was the 2nd highest grade player on the defense. That's not necessarily something I saw. Ernest Jones he was the best player on the defense, and PFF reflects that. 87 graded, 80 in coverage, 80 in run defense, 80 in tackling. He was amazing. It's just proving that trade was one of the best trades that John Schneider's ever made. A little bit of a disappointment, I'd say, was the secondary. This is a secondary that has all the tools to be the strong point of this defense, and it just seems like I feel like we're just getting beat too many times on power downs. Whether it's Witherspoon or Tariq Woolen, who we find out this morning, I believe, is not necessarily being shopped around, but the Seahawks are listening. I'd be interested to see what they could get for a guy like him because obviously the raw talent is there. But the fact that this news got out is it's definitely something the Seahawks are considering. If the Seahawks were happy with where their cornerback room was at, they wouldn't let, I think it was Rappaport, whoever leaked it, they wouldn't let that news get out there to stir anything up in the locker room. I mean, they're really considering it. They're fine if trading Reek for a pick or whatever it would be, and letting Josh Jobe play, letting Darion Kendrick play. And I think I'd be fine with it. I'm fine with letting Reek grow and let him see what happens. I mean, he has his plays that just make you want to gouge your eyes out, but the tools are there. But if you're not going to want to re-sign him after this year, he's not a Mike McDonald guy from the start. If you're not going to want to re-sign him after this year, I'm fine with doing that and seeing what you have in a guy like Kendrick, because when Kendrick's been on the field, he's made plays and he's forced turnovers, and that's what you want in a DB. That's absolutely what you want. But I think that's all I got to say about the Seahawks game. I thought it was a game that shouldn't have been close all over. The final score is going to mask some overall things, but Sam Darnold continues to prove to be arguably an MVP candidate. I mean, he's never going to get the recognition and the votes that he would deserve. Like, obviously, it's week 4, but he's showing you everything that you wanted to see from him. And then we'll talk about the games that happened this morning a little later, but that offseason turn of events is just proven to be a massive win. A massive win for the Seahawks. All right, I'm going to talk about the Huskies now. I didn't know how I wanted to do this, whether I wanted to wait till the end for the college, but I'm going to talk about the Seahawks and Huskies at the beginning, and then we'll get to the rest of the NFL. But on a little bit more of a down note, when we talk about this Husky game, just disappointing. I was in Husky Stadium, and the atmosphere was there. There was a lot of red there. There's a lot of people on Twitter talking about there's too much red there, which, yes, I do agree. And people saying it was loud. And this stadium, they were just waiting to erupt for the Huskies. They were waiting for something to happen where it was like the crowd was really going to get into it, and they didn't have that opportunity. Respectfully, in my opinion, I don't think they did. Huskies start the ball, getting the ball, and they go 3 and out. It's like, all right, like, you punt the ball to Ohio State. It was a really bad punt from what I remember. I believe he shanked it. They got the ball around the 50, and they moved the ball down quickly, and it's like, all right, like, if they go down 7-0, it might get ugly. It might get ugly. And they get a huge 4th down stop. It was in the end zone right in front of me. Stop them on the 5-yard line. Stuff them on 4th and 1. It was X Alexander, I believe. It was a great stop, and it was like the crowd was into it. It was loud, and it was like the atmosphere was crazy at that time. And it was like, all right, go score. And it's a 5-play drive. They end up punting, and it just felt like another missed opportunity. You get behind the sticks. You're punting from your own 11, and they return. It's a great return for Ohio State, and he fumbles. And if you get the ball back in your own 20, it's another opportunity where, like, oh my God, the crowd is going crazy. And you have finally a good drive. I mean, 70 yards, 10 plays, and it ends in a field goal. And the time I thought that kind of really blew it was when you get to 1st and goal. You get to 1st and goal on the 2-yard line, and you lose a yard, and then you have a false start. You can't have a false start on the 3-yard line in your own building. And that's just, I think, just self-inflicted. The Huskies killed themselves. Ohio State's obviously the number 1 team in the country. And if you tell me going into the game last week that the Huskies are going to lose the game, it's like, what can I really say? They're going to lose again, the number 1 team in the country. But in the fashion that they lost was just almost harder to swallow than if they end up losing if they got boat raced by 40 points. You have a false start on your own 3, so you go back to the 8, and you try to run with Jonah, and Damon tries to scramble on 3rd down, and you kick it. So you're up 3-0, and then your defense, who people going into the game were like, this is the weak spot of the team. The defense, are they going to be able to stop these guys? You force another punt, and this next drive is when I really thought that it's when things started going downhill, because you're moving the ball again. You're moving the ball down the field. You convert a 4th and 1. Damon runs for 10 yards. Damon completes to Amari Evans. And I thought Damon was good. I'll talk about that after I talk about this drive. But you get into Ohio State territory. You get to their 23. You get to their 18. And It's just like you get to a 4th and 14, which you're really like you're just looking at it, it just sounds dumb. It's 4th and 14 on the 27. So it's a 43-yard kick. Grady Gross is a 5th-year senior. You got to trust your kicker to make a kick, or they decide to run a fake field goal. And when I tell you like the shock that I had when this happened in the stadium, I don't know the last time someone actually ran a fake field goal that I remember watching, NFL or college. The last fake field goal I remember working was the Seahawks in 2014 in that Packers NFC Championship game. No one runs fake field goals. And to run it and not even have a chance to catch the ball, like they flip it to Grady Gross, and he tries to sort of Decker DeGraff, and Decker DeGraff is blocking. He's not even looking for the ball. It's just a complete misstep by Jed Fish. Like, I just didn't make any sense, dude. Like, if you really feel like you're out of his field goal range, just let Damon throw the ball. I mean, I know it's 4th and 14, but if you really wanted to fake it or use your offense, use your offense. Don't make Grady Gross your kicker. Throw a ball to a tight end. At least be on the same page. It was just didn't make any sense to me. And if you do kick it, no one was expecting you to. That wasn't going to be a scenario where people were like, Jed, you should have went for that. Be aggressive, dude. Like, you would win up 6-0 against the number one team in the country, and your defense is playing lights out. Quite honestly, so you missed the fake, and this is when the Ohio State finally moves the ball down the field, and you end up getting them to a 3rd and 11. You do, and this was a play that frustrated me as well, because your defense has played great all day, and you get them to a 3rd and 11, and Ryan Walters sends an all-out blitz, and it was just like, again, I didn't think that you needed to do that. Your defense had been playing pretty well all day. I didn't think there was a need for you to send an all-out blitz at Sayin, and you got to give props to Julian Sayin. He was a guy where a lot of people were like, he's a freshman quarterback going in the hardest place to play in all of college football. He was poised all day, and I will say he didn't push the ball down the field. I mean, once, trying to think back to it, there wasn't one time where he tried to push the ball down the field, but he didn't need to. Ryan Day had a great game plan for him. He jumped the ball off when he needed to. He had a lot of checkdowns available to him. Even when his first read wasn't there, he knew where to go after, which was impressive. And just that sequence, the fake field goal of the all-out blitz touchdown, it was absolutely killer, because they come out of the third quarter and they go to 14 plays, 75-yard touchdown, and it's 14-3, and that kind of felt like it was over. And I was like, you need to score a touchdown here. You need to. And you move the ball down the field again. Jonah Coleman chooses an 18-yard play. You have a face mask tacked onto it. And you get down to the Ohio State 7, and in the red zone again, you don't execute. And that's where the real... I mean, after you kick a field goal from the 10, whatever, Ohio State goes down and gets 3, it's 17-6, and you turn the ball over on downs, and that's when the game is practically over. So, in a bigger picture, you're a team that you were supposed to be based around your offense, the best quarterback, running back, receiver duo, arguably in the country. You got to score more than 6 points at home, and you have to be able to execute in big plays in the red zone, dude. I mean, Damon was on 18-22, 173 yards. He's efficient. He was so efficient. And I believe Jed said that he needs to know when to just throw the ball away instead of take a sack. He was 13 carries for negative 28 yards. So I don't know how many of that was an actual sack. Let me see if I can pull it up. But he wasn't the problem. There was not a time I was watching the game where, I mean, Damon was tacked six times, pressured 17 times. So you got to give props to Matt Patricia, because Matt Patricia he's a great defensive coordinator. Stopped him in the red zone, stopped him on big downs throughout the day. Damon was pressured. But Jed Fish has to call a better game in big downs. You can't get into the red zone multiple times. You can't get down to the 2-yard line, down to the 7-yard line, and not come out with a touchdown either time. And I don't know I'm not blaming this on Denzel, but where was Denzel in this game? I don't understand why this is a guy who last week against Washington State has 2 big 50-50 balls that he dominates. The cornerback isn't even close. I don't know how in those situations You don't throw him a 50-50 ball at least once and give him a chance in the red zone. Like, this dude is, I think he's like 6'3" or 6'4". How do you not give this guy, who could be a first or second round pick in the draft this upcoming year, a chance to catch a 50-50 ball? In some of these third downs in the red zone, it's just like a straight drop back. You got to get Demond on the move. There was multiple big plays in this game where it's a big third down, a big fourth down. He moves with his legs, and it's just off a straight drop back. But one of these plays, I like to get him on the outside, give him an option to dump it off or use his legs and run. And it's just the execution and big downs and the play calling and big downs and the decision to do the fake field goal is just, that's the least promising thing about the whole situation, is that we had the talent to hang. And you go talk about Zach Durfee's injured. He didn't play. We lose Carver Willis to an injury early in the game. Like that's brutal. But you got to like who stepped up. Desmond Roebuck stepped up. I thought he was one of the bright spots in the Husky offense. 4 receptions for 58 yards. I thought Demond in between the tackles was absolutely fantastic. In between the hashes, he was throwing seam balls on a laser in tight windows, in between the linebacker, in between the safety. Those were great throws. And anytime in between the 20 to the 20, I thought the Huskies offense was great, but they just had a failure to execute in big moments down the stretch in a game that should have been much closer. Even if you go 6, you don't get a touchdown in the early in the game, and it's 6-7. And Ohio State goes down and scores 7, and it's 14-6 in the second half. First drive in the second half, the Huskies are getting the ball. You got a chance to go down and tie the game, not you're down 2 scores. Just stuff like that. And if you get a touchdown on one of those 3 red zone drives, you're in the game all the way down to the end. So I think it's just frustrating. And it's a Huskies team that no one's expecting them to be the best team in the country this year, but to show that you can hang with the number 1 team and to lose like that in a game where you should have been in it towards the end and you weren't, it's just pretty disappointing. But they're going to have chances to right the ship. I mean, you're going to Maryland this week. You're 5.5-point favorites on the road. Make a statement on the road. In the first win a home game, win a away Big Ten game, Jed. Then you got Rutgers at home, a game you should win. And then the next 2 games are games that are going to show where you are. In all honesty, you're at Michigan in another big national stage. That's when the rest of the national media is going to be watching again. Like, who really are the Huskies? Was it a fluke against Ohio State? In the big house, it's a test. You're not going to be favorites. And then you host Illinois, who had a big win against USC this last week. And then you got Wisconsin, Purdue, UCLA before you play what could be the number 1 team in the country, Oregon, at home at the end of the year. They had a good win against Penn State. We'll talk about that later. But you have opportunities to right the ship. No one is expecting this team to be undefeated towards the end of the year. But that game showed that you're right there. You obviously they have more talent than you, but you're not completely overmatched like some people thought you might be. So the opportunity is there for this Husky team. It's just, how are they going to adapt? How is Jedd Fisch going to adapt to call games in the red zone and call big 4th down plays, call big 3rd down plays? It's something I'm going to be looking forward to and looking at, especially in this Maryland game. How are they going to call games in the red zone? How are they going to get Denzel the ball against a good defensive coordinator that is trying to take away and knows how to take away good players? It's just stuff they have to learn, and Jed's got to prove that he is an elite play caller in this sport. I don't doubt Jedd Fisch's roster building. I don't doubt his motivation. I don't doubt his way he builds a program. But me and a lot of other Husky fans have doubts about the way he calls games. And I think that's very rightful at this point in time. So it wasn't it honestly, like, the way they lost is way more frustrating than like annoying, just because they could have been right there. And they could have been, and they just a little bit disappointing in their first true national game of the year, but the talent's there, and it's there for this Husky team to go make a statement this rest of the year. So we'll get on the rest of the NFL slate now. All right, so we'll start with the Ireland game. I believe I misspoke and said it was London on last week's episode. London game next week. This was Ireland. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was asleep for a majority of this game. Early start. But I do have to say I was wrong about this one. I thought that Brian Flores' defense would be able to contain the Steelers and contain Rodgers. And I mean, overall, I think they did. Rodgers was an efficient 18-22, 200 yards, but Gainwell was 19 carries for 99 yards, which is a big surprise, honestly. Kenneth Gainwell showing that he was running the rock behind the Steelers O-line. And the Steelers O-line was able to block the run pretty well, which is not something I was expecting. But I got to give it up to Steelers defense. They forced the pick six, obviously, from Jalen Ramsey, which was a huge thing to get points on the board for Pittsburgh. And it's if you're obviously looking at the box score, the Vikings offense moved the ball. Justin Jefferson, 10 receptions, 126 yards. Jordan Addison, 4 receptions, 114 yards. Xavier Scott, 6 for 43. Jalen Naylor, 1 for 2, had that touchdown at the end of the game. But just there, it was timely. And I mean, just the turnovers forced, that's going to win you a big game. And this was a classic Mike Tomlin game. Quite frankly, it was. They grid out a 24-21 game. They're up a majority of the game. They almost let Minnesota back into the game. I was going to say, I was going to be very critical about Mike Tomlin if they did end up losing. And I mean, I will be a little critical here. This was a little bit of a Mike McDonald decision-esque. Something that's happened this season so far was their punt at the end of the game. The Vikings are down 10, and they have a nice drive to go down and score. Jordan Addison, 81-yard reception, gets in the end zone, and they have one timeout, I think, and they give Pittsburgh the ball just for the 2-minute warning. And run, whatever. Run it again on 3rd and 1. Stuffed on 3rd and 1, and the clock will run all the way down to a minute 10. And you need a yard. And a yard literally seals the game. And you have Aaron Rodgers, who's quite frankly like one of the more clutch quarterbacks in NFL history. And they take it out of his hands and punt it to Minnesota. And Carson Wentz is a pretty putrid last minute attempt of a drive. Like, should have thrown a pick earlier, like on the first play. Ends up getting ruled incomplete. Few penalties. It was ugly. And it ends up working out for the Steelers. But that's a decision that against the better offense, maybe their decision making is a little different. But seeing something like that, seeing him play so passive, that was playing not to lose. And I think he got a little lucky, to be honest. But this is a good win for the Steelers. DK Metcalf finally has his first real big day. 5 receptions, 126 yards. Kenneth Gainwell was the star of the show for Pittsburgh. But it's a good win. I got to say I was wrong about this, and we'll talk about the Ravens later, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are in first place in this division that I don't think many people would have predicted that to be the case. Injuries, other things, of course, have happened in the division, but a win's a win for Pittsburgh, a win in Ireland. Never going to be easy going all the way across the pond, but it was a good win for Pittsburgh, I do have to say. The next game is going to be one of the first games where there's a few teams that I just really don't know. I don't know what to feel about them. And the first team I'm talking about is the Atlanta Falcons. I want to believe in the Atlanta Falcons. And I wanted to pick the Atlanta Falcons. I was wrong. I was wrong about the Vikings. I was wrong about the Falcons. I picked the Commanders. And I wanted to pick the Falcons. But in an all like honest and looking myself in the mirror like mindset, I couldn't in my right mind pick the Atlanta Falcons to win this football game after the display that they showed last week. Last week, they had such an inability to run the football. They just struggled in the pass game. Penix had no confidence in the pocket. Him and his receivers weren't on the same page. And this week they come out, and looks like an explosive, one of the best offenses in the league. I mean, Penix goes for 313 yards, 20 of 26. He was efficient, had one bad pick, but he was on the same page as his receivers all day. This is a Drake London that I was expecting to see. 8 receptions, 111 yards, 1 touchdown, a 43-yard bomb down the left side where he's getting held. Kyle Pitts, 5 for 70. Just like a play that comes to my mind. Like it's a big play in the retrospect of the game, but if you weren't watching the game, you wouldn't know. It was a 3rd and 8, I think. And Penix drops back and he throws a corner route to Kyle Pitts in the perfect cover 2 window. The cornerback is right there. He came down on a hitch. The safety's trying to get over the top of the corner, and it's on a strike, and it's in the air where only Kyle Pitts can get it. The safety makes a hit on it. It's a confident catch, and just not something that I like in the last few weeks when the Falcons had a 3rd down and they had to throw. Just they weren't on the same page, and Penix was confident today. Bijan Robinson, 17 carries, 75 yards. He was explosive. He obviously had that long reception, 4 receptions, 106 yards. It's just such a hit. The highs are high and the lows are lows for the Falcons. And it's like, if this is the Falcons we're going to see every week, this is a dangerous team. No one wants to face this offense when all these weapons are clicking, when Bijan's running the football, and you have to worry about Drake London and Kyle Pitts over the top. No one wants to see that. So it's just like, I just don't know what to expect. I mean, the Commanders with Marcus Mariota played a solid game, 16 and 27, 156 yards. Like, not pushing the ball down the field necessarily, but they didn't have Terry McLaurin. Again, they continued to run a little bit split backfield. Bill was 7 for 47. Chris Rodriguez 7 for 59. Debo has looked like old Debo, quite frankly, recently. 6 for 72, 101 touchdown, along with 24. But it's not a horrible loss for the Command. I mean, you don't have your quarterback, and I think the early indication is Jaden Daniels is going to play next week. But you got the best of the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm not that. This game doesn't really change how I feel about the Commanders. That's why I'm not talking about them as much. It's just like, this is a game. This is what's going to happen sometimes if your starting franchise quarterback isn't playing. So I was thoroughly impressed with Atlanta, and I think they have a bye week next week, which is good because they go in and they face the Buffalo Bills the week after that on Monday Night Football, it looks like. So can they find some stability? They face the Bills and then they face the Niners on the road. Bills at home, Niners on the road. Can this be the Atlanta Falcons offense? If this is the Atlanta Falcons offense for the rest of the year, this is a dangerous team that can make some noise in the playoffs, can make some noise in this division run, especially if the Bucs are banged up and who knows how long they're going to be able to hold on they might lose a few games coming up with their guys out. So if this is the Falcons you're going to get, this is a team that can win some football games. But I mean, I just don't know. I don't know where I'm at there with this team. Up next, we'll go Saints at Bills. And I mean, just on the like transitive property, the Seahawks are a better team than the Bills because the Bills, quite frankly, could have lost this game to the Saints. And Spencer Rattler, I mean, doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but him and Kellen Moore have had multiple chances to win games, all except for the Seahawks game. They could have beat the Niners. They could have beat the Cardinals. And they had a chance to beat the Buffalo Bills. He's 18 to 27, 126 yards, 1 touchdown. They run the ball well today, which is something they didn't do last week against the Seahawks. Alvin Kamara was 15 carries, 70 yards. Kendra Miller was 11 carries, 65 yards. Rattler was 6 for 49. The receiving attack wasn't necessarily there, but they were running the ball well. Shaheed was 4 for 47. Jawan Johnson 3 for 28. And just little mistakes in the red zone, and they probably should win this game. They decided to run a Philly special, and Olave throws it, gets picked off on the 2-yard line, which was stupid in my opinion. That was right before half. That's a chance to take the lead. You could have been up 17 to 14, and if you take your 3, it's 14 to 13. And then in the second half, there's a chance at the end of the game where it's 4th down, I believe it was. I don't know if this is a different one I'm looking at. Oh, yes, no. It was 3rd down, and he had Brandon Cooks on a slant route. Split it. The window was there, and he throws a little bit behind him. It was ruled a touchdown on the field. It would have put the Saints up 6. It would have been 27 or 26 to 21. New Orleans, and who knows? The defense made stops sometimes around the day, and then at some point they could hold on as long as they could because Josh Allen throws Dalton Kincaid. It was a beautiful throw on the wheel route this right sideline, and the Bills pull away. But this Saints team isn't like that. They're bad, but they're not horrible. Like, they're competing in games. There's other teams that look so much worse, but they're 0-4. And for a team that has I don't know if I'd call Tyler Shuck your franchise quarterback, but you draft a guy in the 2nd round who people, I guess, are excited about, but there's no reason to take out Spencer Rattler. Like, that's the thing. There's other teams that are bad in this league, and it's like, all right, you should play your rookie. There's no real reason to take out Rattler. I mean, he's giving you a chance to win every game. He's not turning the ball over. He turned the ball over against the Hawks, but besides that, I don't think he has a turnover. Like, he held on to it today. He's making throws that, like, they aren't always working out, but he's giving your team a chance to win games against teams that are better than you. And he's there's no reason to put Tyler Shuck in the game. It's unfortunate. I feel bad for him. I mean, he still hasn't had his first career win. Take on the Giants next week. Maybe next week they got the Giants and the Patriots coming up. I hope he can get on because I like him, man, and he's playing the game well, like the right way. Like, they're just getting unlucky, and their defense can't hold on that long. And obviously, he's not playing a perfect game, but he's doing enough. He's doing enough. He's had a chance to go down and drive down and put a touchdown to either give his team the lead or give him the lead late in the game early in the 4th quarter, like I was today, against good football teams. I mean, the Niners are a playoff. This was the Niners in week 2, I believe, or was it week 3? This is the Cardinals in week was week 1 or 2. I believe it was week 1. But it's just a weird team to read in the Buffalo Bills. It ends up being a comfortable win, but you would have wanted it to be a little more. James Cook ran the ball well again. Josh Allen threw a pick. It's a win for Buffalo that a lot of people expected, but it was definitely a lot closer for comfort than Bills fans would have wanted. Up next, we got the Browns and the Lions. This was a game that I said would be a Lions comfortable victory. I was correct about this one. I was correct about the Bills. And I think it might be time to start a rookie in Cleveland, dude. I'm a big Joe Flacco guy, but even in the game that they won last week, this hasn't been like Joe Flacco's roping the ball downfield. It's similar to the Russell Wilson situation. It's not as ugly, but I mean, today he's 16-34, 184 yards passing, and 2 interceptions. Like, at some point, you don't need to have the 39-year-old Joe Flacco out there. What is it really doing for your team? Gabriel's had 4 weeks to sit behind him if you want to see what you got there. Shador's the emergency third quarterback. Like, just give your rookie a chance, because these are just ugly things to watch on offense. He can't move in the pocket, and Joe Flacco's a legend of the game, but you're trotting him out there. He's getting killed out there. He's getting killed. He had a 12.5 quarterback rating. Like, it's just ugly. Quinshon Judkins ran the ball decent, 21 for 82 yards. Isaiah Bond, 3 receptions for 58 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 3 for 48. Quinshon Judkins, 4 for 33. Harold Bannon, 2 for 24. It's like, it's just kind of pointless. Kevin Stefanski's a good offensive mind. Let's see what you do with a rookie quarterback, because otherwise I don't know how they're going to hold on to you, dude. Like, you can't just keep putting out losing seasons. It's the NFL. No matter how hard the situation is, you can't just keep losing games and hold on to your job, in all honesty. I don't really have much else to say about this game. It was a comfortable Lions win, got through a pick, but 160 yards passing. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15-91. Dave Montgomery, only 9 carries for 12 yards, but Amon-Ra, 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions. It's a good win for Detroit. That's all I got on that one, to be honest. Up next, Panthers at Patriots, another team just disappointing. I was expecting the Panthers to build off of a dominating win over Atlanta last week, and they got the worst of Atlanta, but you put up 30 points over Atlanta at home, and you go on the road to the Patriots, who haven't had a very good defense, in all honesty, the whole year. They've been one of the worst defenses in the league, and it was never close. You score first, and you're up 6-0, and you force a punt, and then you punt again, and I believe you get a muff. There was something about it. No, they returned the punt for a 7, and you get the ball back, and you don't score for. After the Panthers' opening touchdown, they didn't score for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They didn't. After their first touchdown, they didn't score a touchdown until the last drive of the game when they're down 42-6. Like, that's just unacceptable. It's flat out bad, and I this is one of the games I'm going to go back and watch, whether it's tomorrow or Tuesday before Thursday's show, just because, are there opportunities there for Bryce Young, for him to make throws and get guys the ball in space, or is this just a team really? Is the team this bad? I have to. You got to tend to think most of it's going to be on Bryce Young. I mean, this is a team that had some success late in last year, and they haven't really been able to run the ball. Chuba Hubbard was 10 for 49. They just haven't been able to get a whole lot going. Ted McMillan was 4 for 62 again. He's been a lone bright spot, but just pretty brutal. It's brutal for a Panthers fan. And on the Patriots side, this is what you want to see: explosive offense. Stephon Diggs, I've been waiting for him to show up. 6 receptions, 101 yards. Only guy really in the receiver room, but that's fine. Hunter Henry, 2 for 39. If you can have Stephon Diggs show up, and I mean, I know he's not the Stephon Diggs of old, but be a reliable veteran that makes a big plays in the game. That's big for New England. So it's a good win for New England. Get back on track, 2-2 now. Going to Buffalo next week and Sunday Night Football. Can you give them some run? Can you hang around? Buffalo is a defense that's shown they've given up some points no matter who you're playing. So can you hold around and make it a game there? Quite honestly, and you're in an interesting spot if you can. Up next, one of the more fun games of the early window, I got to say, is the Chargers at the Giants, and I might just be the opposite guy for the Chargers, because I pick him to lose weeks 1 through 3. I pick him to win this week, and I did say, like, a part of me wanted to pick him to lose, but I was like, I can't just go 0 for 4. I can't fade them every week. Like, they're 7-point favorites on the road. They're not going to lose the game, and they do. You got to give a shout out to Jackson Dart, dude. This guy, I didn't know that they were going to run him like this, to be honest. The first drive I was watching, and he carried the ball 4 or 5 times on the opening drive, 9-play, 89-yard touchdown drive. It was impressive, dude. It was like, it was just quarterback draw, read option. It was really impressive. He ran the ball the last 4 plays of that drive to get it in. Or no, he ran three out of the 4, 9-yard run, 4-yard run, 13-yard pass, 15-yard touchdown run, quarterback draw up the middle. But this is gritty. And you got to say, prayers up for Malik Neighbors. That really sucks, because in a day that should have been a bright spot for Giants fans and the fan base and the organization, your franchise receivers is out for the year with the torn ACL on that MetLife turf. So that's really unfortunate. Just running a route, trying to go up, make an explosive play, and for that to happen, it sucks. But I mean, the Giants found a way to win a game. This is why I still have faith in Brian Dable, because I mean, Jackson was 13 to 20, 111 yards, 1 passing touchdown. It's not like it wasn't the craziest thing in the world. He had 55 yards on the ground. Cam Scatterby was 25 carries, 80 yards, just grit, pure grit every time he touches the rock. They're going to need some guys in the receiver room to step up. Darius Slayton, 3 for 44 yards. Malik Neighbors obviously had 2 for 20. Theo Johnson, 3 for 17, got in the end zone. I don't know. I don't think the Giants are very good, but when Dart's playing quarterback, I don't think that it's not going to be an easy win. He's going to scrappy. It's going to be scrappy out there. I will say they got the Saints next week, and Eagles, Broncos, Eagles again. Like, it's going to be tough, but who knows? I mean, this was a team that fought, which is what you want to see. On the Chargers side, it doesn't really change how. I mean, stuff's going to happen. Herbert threw 2 bad picks. It's Joe Alt goes down to sprained ankle, which is really unfortunate, because if he's out for a few weeks, that does change how I feel about the Chargers, because obviously they're already down Slater from preseason, and if you don't have that other cornerstone tackle, the run game will suffer. Herbert's pass protection will suffer. So you got to hope he gets back soon in that sense. Amara Hampton was great today, though. 12 for 128, 1 touchdown, average 10 yards a carry. Like that, you love to see that. Quentin Johnson is Quentin Johnson the best receiver in that room? I mean, at some point, we're getting to the point of the season where stuff isn't the fluke anymore if it's happening every week. 8 receptions for 98 yards and 1 touchdown. 13 targets. If Herbert's throwing you the ball 13 times, he's got to believe in you a decent amount. He's not just going to stop throwing him the ball. That's a great development if you're a Chargers fan. But yeah, overall, you got to hope Joe Alt gets better. It was a fun win for the Giants, and unfortunately, it's kind of masked in some sense by the Malik Neighbors injury. On the next game, 2 more games left in the early window. The Eagles at the Bucks. This was fun, and there was points early in the game where it didn't look like it was going to be fun. It was a rough start for the Bucks. You get a punt blocked, you punt again. Eagles go down, score. You're down 21-3 midway through the second quarter, and it's like, we know you're banged up. Like, it wasn't necessary to slide on the Bucks. They just kind of struggled to get stuff going. They couldn't really get into a rhythm and a drive. McLaughlin makes like a 65-yarder, I believe it was. It was a hell of a kick. But then the defense kind of settles in, and they neutralized Saquon Barkley a decent amount in this game. He only had 19 carries for 43 yards. Like, Jalen Hurts was 9 for 62, but in an overall sense, they played pretty well against this Eagles offense. Well, obviously, 7 of those points come from a blocked punt. And Baker Mayfield, man, I mean, he throws a bad pick late in the game, but this is just why he's so fun. He's going to keep you in the game. Emeka Egbuka, that touchdown pass was beautiful. Him rolling to the right, beautifully floats the ball over 2 guys' hands, and Emeka catches it, goes to the end zone, 77 yards. Like, they're fun, dude. And I know they're so banged up. They're coming to Seattle next week in a game that's not going to be easy for either side. And the Seahawks, quite frankly, are catching this Bucs team probably at the right time if you want to play them, because this is an explosive offense. Down some guys, down some O-line, making defensive line can probably take advantage of that. We'll talk about that game later in the week. But no matter what the deficit is, like, there was never a point. It was 31-13. And I wasn't like, oh, this game's over. I was like, I don't see why Baker can't score. And the defense had shown the ability to stop them kind of throughout the day in certain times. And they did. There was a chance that they were down 8 points, and they get down to the 11-yard line, and Baker's it would have been a classic Baker play. He breaks out of like 3 sacks, stiff arms the guy. There's a guy around his ankles, he runs. And he tries, I don't really know where he's going with the ball. I think he was going to Godwin. Jihad Campbell's right there, picks it off, and they force the 3 and out again. And they end up getting stopped on, I believe it was like, 4th and 9. But the Bucs team is fun. And the Bucs are always going to be in every game. They're not going to make it easy. But as I said earlier, in a time where these guys are banged up, it's an opportunity for the Falcons. But as long as Baker Mayfield is playing, they're going to have a chance in every game. But they got a little bit of gauntlet coming up. Hawks on the road, host the Niners at home at the Lions. Who knows where you go in that sense, and who knows what the Falcons do. So it's just kind of the war of attrition at this point for Tampa Bay. But that defense, the defense is going to keep them in games too. The defense and Baker, no matter what happens, like they're gonna be scrappy games. This is going to be a team that rolls over no matter the deficit. I mean, you go down 24-3 to the defending Super Bowl champs. Most teams will just be done at halftime, and they didn't. So you got to give them props to that. On the Eagles side, it continues to be a confusing offense. They can't. A.J. Brown has that huge day last week, and he has 9 targets, 2 receptions for 7 yards. It's just weird. Like, you got to find a way to get your guys more involved. I don't really get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. That's going to be another thing I'm going to go look back on this week is this Eagles offense. It doesn't make any sense, especially on a day when Saquon Barkley is getting neutralized. You got to be able to get A.J. Brown the ball on a slant, throw him a look ball, let him break some tackles. We know how good he's after the catch. It just doesn't really add up, in all honesty. In the last game of the early window, Titans-Texans, don't have a whole lot to say. I mean, I said it on last week's show. This was the last opportunity for me to believe in the Texans. And I mean, they gave me some hope. I said it was D'Amico Ryans and a good defense against Cam Ward, rookie quarterback, in a rough Titans team. And I think Brian Callahan's got to be gone somewhat soon. I don't care who's on the roster. This is just a pathetic fight. You're trotting Cam Ward out there, and it's getting to the point where it's hurting him. 10 of 26, 108 yards. After the game, he says that he doesn't have much to shake their ass. True. Tony Pollard, 14 for 64. The receivers, like, no one's really on the same page. It's just a poorly constructed offense. If you have a bad team and you're putting up points, whatever, you can take some out of this. But you're trotting them out there every week. Just an offense that doesn't really know what they're doing. The pass game is not married to the run. The pass concepts aren't easy for anyone. There's no easy completions out there for him. It sucks. Like, it really, really sucks for him, honestly, on the situation that he's thrown into. And on the Texans side, they were able to run the ball a little bit this week. You gotta shout out to Woody Marks. I think there's no reason Woody Marks shouldn't be the guy that's getting the majority of the carries until Joe Mixon comes back. Nick Chubb, great. I mean, maybe short down guy, but running back is a young man's position. And Nick Chubb is a legend in the league. Some would say he's a legend, but like, Woody Marks, good receiving back at USC, just has more explosion. He has 4 receptions for 50 yards on the receiving end and 17 carries for 69 yards on the rushing end. There's no reason not to give the ball to this young guy. He's a young late-round pick. Let him take the carries. He has more of the big play ability as well. Stroud had a better game, 22-28, 2 touchdowns, 233, efficient. Nico Collins, only 4 catches, but for 80 yards. A better day for the Texans. Not much to say because it's a really bad team, but you got the Ravens next week, and if there's ever a time to play the Ravens, it's going to be now. So that'll be an interesting game against a defense that has proven to be not great so far this year. So what will the Texans offense and offensive line be able to do then? All right, we'll get on after the set of afternoon games now, and we'll be starting with the Colts and the Rams on the afternoon and night games. And this was an electric afternoon slate. I do have to say, there was 4 games on, and every single one of them had a bit of my attention. And we'll start with the Colts and the Rams. I said it on Thursday. I said this is going to be a big test for the Colts. Can they hang with a really legit team that we know is legit? And can they show up? And they did, honestly. They, quite frankly, probably should have won this game if Adonai Mitchell doesn't drop the ball on the 1-yard line out of the end zone. So Ruin would have been like the best play of his career. It was an insane play. Moss, the defender, breaks the tackle, goes out, and he just goes to stretch the ball out for no reason and loses it through the end zone. Just unbelievably unacceptable. But on the Colts side, I mean, they looked still good. Daniel Jones throws 2. He opens the game with an interception. It's like, okay, is this just going to roll over? And he rebounds well. Honestly, he should have had that touchdown to A.D. Mitchell. 24-33, 262 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Jonathan Taylor runs the ball well again. 17 carries, 76 yards. Adonai Mitchell has 3 receptions for 96 yards, but that's heavily swayed by that 75-yarder that he drops. Tyler Warren continues to be a huge bright spot. They use him on the goal line in a little wildcat package. He gets in the end zone. 5 receptions, 70 yards. Michael Pittman, 5 for 41. Josh Downs, 4 for 24. Jonathan Taylor through the air, 5 for 20. It was just kind of what we've seen so far, but they hung around the game and they throwed punches. Like, they were up 20-13 in the fourth quarter. They were up 20-13 with 9 minutes to go. And, I mean, they end up losing. They give up a long – Matthew Stafford does Matthew Stafford things. 5-minute touchdown drive. They force a punt. And the first play of the next drive, Tutu Atwell, 88 yards down the field with 1:30 to go. Dagger. Just a dagger. But I don't really have much to say about the Rams. We knew the Rams were legit. And the Colts gave them a run for their money. The Colts defense hung around majority of the game. Gave up 13 points until midway through the fourth quarter. Like, you can't ask for much more. Should have had an extra touchdown on the board. This is honestly, again, the Colts should have won. So I don't think this changes how I feel about the Colts. This continues to show, as I said, we're at the point in the season where stuff isn't fluky. Like, it's a team's legit or a team's not legit. And as of right now, still think they're legit. Everything I saw today proves to me that I think they are. Daniel Jones did not make those 2 turnovers, but overall, they played well enough to win a game on the road against one of the top contenders in the NFC. So that's not anything to hold their head about. Puka Nacua continues to be unbelievable. 13 receptions for 170 yards. He's been absolutely insane. Stafford was 29 of 41, 370 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, they played fantastic. This offense, when they're humming, is pretty good. And this is the best I've seen their offense function. Even going back to last year. Going back to last year, the Rams offense was not this big powerhouse thing that it is and has been at times this year. So great win for the Rams, but they got a short week coming up against the Niners, banged up 49ers. It's a good loss for the Colts in a game they should have won. They should be sitting at 4-0 right now, in my opinion. Up next, Jaguars at 49ers. A game that I was wrong about, and I'm perfectly fine being wrong about this game. I'm fine when I say I was trying to be objective and say I think Purdy comes back, the Niners win. And in my head, I was like, I think they can hang around, but I didn't know if the Jaguars necessarily have the guys at the end of the game to hold on and win a close one, and they did. And you got to say it does have something to do with the 49ers' inability to hold on to the football. 4 turnovers is never going to win you a game. You lose the 4 turnover battle by 4. Jaguars don't turn over once. Props to them. Trevor Lawrence plays all right. 21 of 31, 174 yards, 1 touchdown. But their ability to run the ball in this defense, I thought was really impressive. Travis Etienne, 19 carries, 124 yards, 1 touchdown. That was great production on the ground. And through the air, they didn't really have much. To be honest, it was really just them playing smart, taking care of the football. Brian Thomas was 5 receptions for 49 yards. Travis Hunter, 3 for 42. They didn't do anything crazy, but Brock Purdy threw 2 interceptions, both pretty bad ones. He fumbles with the game on the line. And the Jaguars took advantage of the short field. Their defense showed up, forced those turnovers, and the defense wins that game, quite frankly. There wasn't anything on the offensive end that really was crazy. Towards the end of the game, they had a chance to really, really seal it. And Cam Little misses a chip shot field goal that he hasn't missed, I believe. He made this like 6 out of his 7 kicks. And you're like, oh, here we go. The Niners are going to take advantage of this. And they're going to end up winning the game. And it was going to be just a huge missed opportunity. But they forced the fumble of Purdy, and they get the ball back, and the Jags win the game. So, and they made timely plays. After that fumble, they had to get a first down, and Lawrence completes a pass to the right side for 8 yards, and they win the game. And it's a big win for the Jaguars. And the Jaguars are now in a good spot in that division to win it, especially if they can just hold on, win some division games, keep winning games that they should win. It's a huge win on the road for Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen and Robert Saleh yelling at each other after the game. I believe it was some sign. I don't know. Saleh called them out in the midweek press conference and said that they're doing a great job of stealing signs legally to get their offense an advantage. And if they're doing it legally, why are you calling it out? I think that's more what Liam Cohen was saying. He said it was nothing after the game, but it got fiery, which you love to see. You love to see the fire coming out from your head coach that has proven that these are 3 big wins for the Jags. Starting off 3-1. Could be 4-0, to be honest. It's a big game against the Bengals they should have won. But you got to love what you see from your head coach. He's got some fire. This isn't necessarily the high-powered offense that you thought you were going to see, but you guys are winning close games, and this is not something you had with Doug Peterson. It was just kind of a dead team, no energy, no juice, and him and Lawrence haven't really clicked. Him and all those receivers haven't really clicked yet, but if you know that you're winning games like this, that's only a bright spot for you. On the San Francisco side, I mean, does Mac Jones win this game? Maybe. These were some bad turnovers by Brock Purdy. And it's kind of the Brock Purdy that we've seen at times in these last few years. These are plays you can't make, dude. These are plays you cannot make. He played awful in this game. And I do think, honestly, there's an argument to say that Mac Jones wins this game. The 2 interceptions he threw were not even close to being at someone. It was just puzzling watching the game. And I mean, obviously, I wasn't mad about it watching it, but I was like, you're paying this guy $250 million? Like, Brock Purdy was awful today. I mean, I just first came back from an injury, whatever, but these are just unacceptable throws. Like, an injury doesn't make you throw it right to the middle linebacker. I'm just watching back this interception right in the third quarter, 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. He drops back off a little play action to McCaffrey, and the throw ball has no juice on it. He's never been a guy that has any arm talent. So if he can't make these decisions, and I mean, he sits back, has all the time in the world, and the linebacker's sitting in the middle of the field in between the hashes. If you don't have arm talent, you can't make these awful decisions throwing the ball to the defense directly to it. It's just bad if you're a Niners fan, and this is not a healthy team. And when the team's not healthy and all the weapons aren't there, they're losing receivers, dropping like flies. Then Brock Purdy has to play at a level that you paid him to play at. And you got the Rams on Thursday night, short week this week, at the Bucs versus the Falcons, at the Texans. That's for a Niners schedule that we all know isn't very tough looking at it through the whole year. It's one of the easiest schedules in the league. This next 4-game stretch, I'd say, is probably the toughest all year. So if you fall behind here, you're in a position where you do have to win these games at the end. You're supposed to win, but you could be in a tough spot with all these guys out right now. Your team isn't fully healthy. They're not all going to get healthy this next few week stretch. Brock Purdy's got to figure it out. That's all I got there. Brock Purdy has to figure it out for the Niners team to win these games they should be winning these next few weeks and hold ground until the rest of the team gets healthy. Up next, maybe the shock of the day. The Chiefs beat the Ravens 37-20, and I got to give myself some props. Every time I've talked about a Chiefs loss or a Chiefs game, I've said, I just need to see this offense when Xavier Worthy gets healthy. I think this will be a completely different offense when he gets healthy. I've been waiting to see it, and my God, it was. Xavier Worthy, 5 receptions, 83 yards through the air. He leads the team in rushing, 2 carries, 38 yards. He's just a difference maker for this offense. And they ran the ball not great. If you take out Worthy, I mean, Pacheco was 7 for 35. Kareem Hunt was 13 to 34. But when you have that guy with the ability to stretch the offense, it opens up so much more. Patrick Mahomes, 25 to 37, 270 yards, 4 touchdowns, only sacked once. Travis Kelce, 5 receptions, 48 yards, underneath ability when Xavier Worthy's stretching the ball downfield. Tyquan Thornton, a touchdown, 1 reception, 11 yards. Juju, Hollywood Brown, 4 for 36, 3 for 38, a touchdown for each of them. Just having the mere presence of a guy that runs a 4.26 and can run down the field and give you any sort of deep threat that's not Tyquan Thornton is such a difference for an offensive mastermind like Andy Reid and an MVP level quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. And I've been saying it. And I'm so happy that I was finally proven correct today. And I mean, that's this Chiefs offense. And this Chiefs offense at this level can hang points on anyone. They can, quite frankly, score with anyone. They're a dangerous team now. On the defensive side, they shut down this Ravens offense. This is 2 weeks in a row. Lamar Jackson's looked bad. 14 to 20, 147 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 6 carries, 48 yards. This is just embarrassing for the Ravens. Lamar loses a fumble as well. Are they bad? They're 1-3 now. And you're hosting the Texans and the Rams and the Bears the next 3 weeks. These are no 3 gimmies. The Texans, obviously a bad team as well, what we've seen so far, but they beat the Titans this week, and they've been bad against good defenses. This Ravens defense has not shown to be good at all. They've given up 41 17 to the Browns, 38 to the Lions, and 37 to the Chiefs. There's nothing telling me that this bad Texans offense can't hang 25 on them and see what happens with their defense. A good Texans defense that, who knows? Who knows, quite honestly. This Ravens team needs to look in the mirror because they're in a division that should have been honestly handed to them with Burrow injury. Steelers aren't great. Browns are bad. They're third in the AFC North and we're sitting at 1-3. Like, things are ugly in Baltimore right now. And I don't really know why. It's, again, a failure to establish Derrick Henry on the ground. Derrick Henry's not washed. 8 carries for 42 yards. Is it because you fall behind early? Justice Hill's your longest rusher, 71-yard rush. Like, whatever. But it's just, I don't know, dude. I mean, that rush comes in garbage time, obviously. So if you take the 71 yards off of that, they run 16 times for like 90 yards. They just didn't really ever get it going. Lamar goes out with a hamstring injury, which, again, that doesn't feel good. Cooper Rush plays the whole second half, and Cooper Rush isn't going to win you any games. Because they need to bring in a guy like, where's Tyler Huntley at right now? I'd rather have him than Cooper Rush, at least a guy that plays a similar play style. So if Lamar does go down, you're not running a drop back offense. Like, you're going to be cooked either way, but just poor, really poor. And it's not getting easier right now for the Ravens. That's just I predicted the Chiefs to win, but I didn't think it was going to be the Chiefs' easiest win of the season. The Chiefs, this is an easier win for the Chiefs than the Giants game was. But yeah, Xavier Worthy, his presence just being in Kansas City was just quite the difference, in my opinion. You got to give a shout out to Chris Jones showed up 20 minutes before kickoff from his aunt's funeral. That's why he loves sports right there, man. That is. One of the Bears at the Raiders, ugly game, but the Bears squeak it out in a huge win for the Bears. If this is a loss, this is just crushing. This was a team that looked great last week for the first time all year under Ben Johnson, and you're like, all right, is the offensive explosion coming? This is a Raiders team that you should be able to dominate in the trenches. That's been dominated in the trenches. And the Raiders come out, and Ashton Jeanty finally shows up, 21 carries, 138 yards, 1 touchdown, has that long 64-yarder. He won 2 receiving touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns on the day, and you're not able to run the ball at all. DeAndre Swift, 14 carries, 38 yards. Kyle Anangai, 4 for 18. Like, it's like, what is going on? Geno Smith is throwing 3 interceptions. He's looking awful. This game should have been a blowout. And I'm watching the game like, dude, the Bears should be winning this game by 20. And they're getting held to 3, stupid mistakes, shooting themselves in the foot, stupid flags. And I was like, this is a loss for the Bears. This is going to be a hard one to swallow, quite honestly, because you got a chance to go to 2-2. This is a loss. The season's you're in a tough spot. But now you're 2-2. You're facing the Commanders next week in Washington, or I think 2 weeks. You have a bye week next week, 2 weeks to prepare for the Commanders. Jaden Daniels will probably be playing. The game plan can be there, and I gotta say, I'm happy for Caleb Williams. He didn't play his best game by any means. 22 of 37, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But he just for him to be rewarded, it felt like last year. Anytime, even if he did have trying to have a rookie signature moment or drives his team down. I'm thinking of the Hail Mary game. Drives his team down. It's an ugly game. They only put up 15 points in that game last year. Drives his team down, and then it's like, this could be a game-winning drive, and they lose on a Hail Mary, or they lose to Minnesota in overtime after he gives them a chance to win the game, and they don't. They lose on Thanksgiving when he plays a fantastic game, and Matt Eberflus, horrible clock management. It's just, he never was rewarded. He did have a rough rookie season, but I felt like he was never rewarded for the good moments he did have. And he didn't ever have that where it was like Caleb Williams clutch. And he had that in this game. And they had so many chances to blow this game open early in the game. They couldn't really run the ball. That's not on Caleb. He struggled to get in rhythm sometimes. Like, Max Crosby was all over the place. Max Crosby was absolutely unbelievable in this game. And it was like, he's going to win this game single-handedly. He had the interception in the red zone. He tips it up, catches it himself. That's outstanding. But for Caleb to have the poise on that game-winning drive, those 2 drives in the fourth quarter, quite frankly, I mean, you're down 21-16. You get the ball to start the fourth quarter, and you get 3. They probably should have got a touchdown, They're on the 14-yard line, 2nd and 5, incomplete pass, and they have to shoot the ball back 20 yards on a bad snap. Shout out Cairo Santos. Cairo Santos made a few 40-yarders, a few 50-yarders to just keep them in this game. Raiders get 3, and then 11 plays, 69-yard, 5-minute drive from Caleb Williams. Multiple third downs converted using his legs, and the run game finally got going. It's just a signature moment, and then the defense blocks the kick. It's a great win. And on the Raiders side, I feel bad for Pete Carroll, but this is just classic Geno Smith. If you've been a Seahawks fan, just the stupid interceptions. Like, we know you have arm talent, dude, but just trying to force in dumb throws to lose your team a game. With the way they ran the ball today, the Raiders O-line hasn't been able to move anyone. They finally were moving people today, and they end up losing because Geno throws 3 picks early in the game, just surrenders points. So it's just awful for the Raiders. And I don't know. It's just what's the direction of this team? You have an old quarterback who is not playing at a level where you're like, oh, I'm super excited to have this guy on my team for the next few years. Like, you draft a running back at 6, but you can't really. It's hard to build a team around a running back. The running back's supposed to be the last piece you bring into a roster. So it's just tough. I don't really know where the Raiders are going to go. They got to win some games. Otherwise, it's a weird situation in Vegas. On the Sunday night game, last game of the day, and what a game it was. And it started with a game. It started off like it's going to be a snoozer, Micah Parsons revenge game. It's about to be 14-0. Packers are dominating this game, and they blocked the extra point, and they're like, all right, 13-2. This is weird. And I believe Schottenheimer said just flip the switch for the Cowboys. Because even then, you go 3 and out, you force a punt for Green Bay, and you have an 11-play, 95-yard touchdown drive before the half to get on the board. And it was George Pickens had an outstanding day. He had Dak Prescott throws a ball that almost touches the scoreboard in AT&T, and there's 2 guys there, and he pins it on his chest, catches it on the 2. They get in the end zone. You're like, all right, we get the ball at a half, going in 13-9, and Jordan Love fumbles, and you're like, oh my God, I believe they had 9 seconds left, and George Pickens for a touchdown over the middle of the field. I was like, holy, what happened? And the Cowboys are up going into the half. Like, it was awful mismanagement from the Packers. Just run the ball. There was like 15 seconds left, and it was just sloppy. And they struggled to move the ball in the first 2 plays, and it was going to be 3rd down, and they did convert the 3rd down. And then just nothing there, dude. It's just dumb. That's just something you can't do if you're going to win games late in the season. And Cowboys punt, start the half. Green Bay scores, so they're up 4. And I just kept waiting for the Cowboys to get stopped, Green Bay to take advantage of the game. They didn't. After the 3rd quarter, after that opening drive punt for the Cowboys, touchdown, 3 touchdown drives. Dak was lights out. I thought Dak played fantastic. Turpin stepped up. Tolbert stepped up. Jake Ferguson stepped up. You got to give a shout out to all of them. George Pickens, 8 for the 134, 2 touchdowns. And they end up losing because they can't get a clutch stop. And you got to give a shout out to Jordan Love. Jordan Love in this Green Bay offense. It didn't seem easy at times. Honestly, if I have to say, it seemed easier for the Cowboys offense than it was the Packer offense. The Cowboys offense was pushing the ball through the middle of the field. It felt like more guys were open. And on the Packers side, it felt like a majority of their time was checked down to Josh Jacobs, checked down to Emmanuel Wilson. A lot of run after the catch, breaking tackles. But they were converting. And even on that last drive that ends up resulting in the tie, well, you got to say Dak moves. They're down 4. Dak goes out in 4 plays, 54 yards for the touchdown. George Pickens for a 30-yard touchdown, breaks the tackle or 2. And it was just too much time, unfortunately, for the Packers. Jordan Love, it was a beautiful, beautiful 40-second drill. Checks it down to Josh Jacobs, who's being smart, gets to the 50, completes passes when he needs to. They trust McManus, drills a 50-yarder right down the middle, no doubt. And then in overtime, the Cowboys had a chance to win this game. I do have to say. To get all the way down to the 4 is pretty brutal. You have 1st and goal from the 5, and to not score there, that was the killer. And they had it. Dak was scrambling to the left. He was going to walk in, and Micah Parsons made a great play. His only real play of the day, tracks him down from behind, dives, and holds him short, and that ends up they hold him to 3 there, and the Packers go down and should have lost the game. I have to say that sequence was pretty bad. I know you don't want to spike the ball on 3rd down with 13 seconds left, but quite frankly, I wouldn't have been surprised if the clock runs out and they're like, yeah, we can't reverse it. It's only 1 second. Like, just the sequence of timing. I thought they were wildly lucky to get 1 second left in the game to kick kick the ball to tie it. And I just got to say, the last thing on this game was a great game. Awesome game to end the day. The overtime rule. Why a situation like this should never happen where Dallas gets the ball and goes down and puts points up, and Green Bay gets the ball, and it's their right. That was the whole point of the new rule. They have a right to complete a drive, to get the ball back. They shouldn't have to be racing against the clock. I don't know how you change it, because I think obviously, like, you can't say they're untimed, because what if Dallas doesn't score and then Green Bay doesn't, and then it's like, I think the timing is right. But I think maybe a solution is if Dallas scores on their opening drive, Green Bay should get a full drive. And if it ends, the game ends when Green Bay's drive ends, quite honestly. Because I don't know if, there might be a way to change it with, like, it's like a field goal, but it's maybe if it exceeds 10 minutes, that's the only drive. Like, I don't know. Obviously, there has to be different scenarios. Say it's like a quick 3-minute field goal drive. Green Bay goes on, kicks field goal, the game shouldn't be over. But they should have a right to finish that drive. The period should at least be 15 minutes. There's no reason the period should be 10 minutes, because the whole point is you want both teams to get the ball. And if Dallas obviously had like a 5-minute drive, they moved the ball downfield in chunks, but Green Bay got the ball back with like 14, I believe it was like 4 minutes to go. Yeah. And they're doing a normal drive and they get on the red zone just because they only have 2 timeouts. They shouldn't be in a race against the clock. They should get all 4. They shouldn't have to play clock games and get on the ball quick in that situation. I think it's stupid. And having a tie there is stupid. It was a really fun game. But the Cowboys I think they're mid. They have a good offense, but I don't think they have a defense to make big stops. Dak is really hit. Dak played fantastic today. He's 31 of 40 for 3 touchdowns, 120 yards, but the defense couldn't make that big stop when they needed to. So, the Packers' unfortunate tie. This is a game you expected to win. You're 7-point favorites on the road, so I thought it was a generous line in their direction, but a really frustrating loss for them. And on the Cowboys, it's a frustrating tie. I keep saying loss. It feels like a loss. Like, a tie is a loss, especially for Green Bay. For Dallas, I guess maybe it's not, because they were expected to lose this game, but to get to where they got, you want to win. Like, coming out with a tie is so weird. It just is. So it was a great game. I don't like the way it ended. I don't like how that ended. I don't like how it played out, but it was a great game and a great ending to the Sunday. I went 9-7. I'm going to talk about these 2 Monday night games real quick before I touch very quickly on the college football weekend and get out of here. Jets Dolphins. Dolphins wearing their rivalry jerseys. I don't really know where to go here, to be honest. What Dolphins are we going to get? Are the Dolphins? I don't think the Dolphins are good, but I think Fields is playing, and the way we've seen Fields in these 2 games is weird. Obviously played really great week 1 against the Steelers, and then he plays really poorly in week 2, and Tyrod comes in and plays well against the Bucs, and I thought if Tyrod was going to play, I think I was going to pick the Jets. I think I'm going to go with the Jets, though. I think that loss last week, in a weird way, was a turning point. The loss where Aaron Glenn's cheering on the sideline, he's like, hey, keep your heads up. He loved the effort that his team showed, and I think that can be a real turning point, real momentum booster. And the vibes in that organization, in that building, are much higher than the vibes in this Dolphins building. So I'm taking the Jets. In the next game, people are going to hate this. I think I might be taking the Bengals, man. And I know it's like the Bengals lost by 40 to the Vikings last week, but I can't do it with Bo Nix, dude. Until Bo Nix proves me wrong, I don't know what to believe. And I think Jake Browning had a rough first game starting this year, obviously, but the weapons are there. If he can take care of the ball and get the ball to his receivers, and I think this can be a shootout. I don't know about a shootout, actually, because I'm not Bo Nix scoring points, but I think they can put up points. I don't think there's any reason why they shouldn't. The weapons are there. Throw the ball to Jamar Chase. Throw the ball to T. Higgins. Can they get a little bit of a run game going? I know this is a good Denver defense, but can they show some semblance of an offense? Or is this just going to show that they should can Zach Taylor because the only success they ever have is because of Joe Burrow? You don't have any sort of successful offensive scheme that you can give to a backup quarterback. I get Joe Burrow's fantastic, but you have to have something. If you're a competent NFL coach with 2 all-pro receivers and a solid running back, you should be able to put up some semblance of anything in a game with your backup quarterback who's shown he can win games in the NFL. So I'm taking the Bengals to keep it close. I'm going to take them to win this game. And lastly, it's going to talk about the few college football games that we touched on. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of the early games. Want to give a quick shout out to Illinois. They bounced back, big win over USC. Shout out to Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss. I believe I saw a stat 4 starts in a row, or however many games he started, were 300 yards passing, 50 yards rushing. There's no reason Austin Simmons should come in and start. I get he's your guy at the beginning of the season, but if the D2 Ferris State commit is coming in and taking care of the ball, winning a huge game against LSU at home, you can't put him on the bench. If he struggles at some point, yes, but he just won a huge SEC game. You can't sit him down. Like, I just don't think you can. But I didn't get to watch much of that game, but they played well, and they're beating the number 4 team in the country. I get it's at home, but they're Ole Miss Rebels are the number 4 team in the country. You can't bench the quarterback that just got you to that point. Alabama, Georgia. I gotta say I'm surprised, and I said it was the Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb redemption tour. It started now, and it's true. It did, and it's not gonna get easier. They got another revenge game this week: Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee. Just because you won that one game, the standard Alabama is you got to win them all. But I gotta say, I was really, really shocked. A little disappointed in Georgia at home. A little disappointed in some of those play calls at the end. I don't know why you're giving the ball to Cash Jones on 4th and 1 when you have a freshman running back who's having 10 yards to carry. And you give it to the 180-yard, 80-pound running back that, I mean, he's a third down running back. He's a pass game running back. I don't know what the point of that is there. From the gun to get Gunnar Stockton. He's a big dude. If you're gonna run someone there, run Gunnar Stockton. Let him fall forward. It was just felt weird. Ryan Grubb called a great game. I thought that Caden Proctor screen call was really, really, really fun. But it's just a good win for Alabama. This is what they needed to get the program momentum back on track, get the fans to start believing again. Not much real success deep in the pass game. Ryan Williams only 5 carries for 43 yards. 5 receptions. But Isaiah Horton 5 for 65. Jeremy Bernard 5 for 35. No real deep threats, but it's a gritty win. And the defense played really, really well. You hold Stockton to 13 to 20, 130 yards, 1 touchdown. Their run game succeeds a lot, but you bend but don't break. And that's, you just gotta be impressed with that. I had to give a shout out to Alabama. Last game, really quick. Penn State, Oregon. I gotta give a shout out to Oregon. I said if I had to pick someone, I thought Oregon would win the game, and I don't have a whole lot of belief in Drew Aller, dude. I don't see it. This dude might be a decent NFL prospect, whatever. If I want someone to win a big game, I got to go past a lot of guys before I get to Drew Aller. And it shows in that overtime. They get some momentum. They're running the ball pretty decent. Katon Allen, 12 for 54. Drew Aller was 9 for 42. Singleton goes 11 for 21. So not much there, but 35 carries for 140 yards. But they have nothing in the pass game, dude. 14 to 25, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That interception's just dumb. It's the start of overtime, the first play of overtime. After Oregon scores a one-play touchdown, or not a one-play touchdown, my bad. But I'm sorry, I was mistaken. Touchdown, the first drive of overtime. I'm in the second overtime now. Then Oregon does score a one-play touchdown. And Penn State, you go down and you're forcing a wheel route up the right sideline. It just didn't make any sense. And it's just, this is time and time again. Drew Aller in a big game has disappointed. And he hasn't been there. I'll give a shout out to Dante Moore. Dante Moore showed up 29 to 39, 248 yards, 3 touchdowns, runs the ball in big spots, 10 to 35. It was a big win for Oregon. And there's no reason, honestly, looking at their schedule, it's pretty easy the rest of the way. There's no reason they shouldn't come into Husky Stadium 11-0. They got Indiana next week. But that'll be interesting in 2 weeks, actually, because number 8 Indiana Hoosiers on the road going to be in Oregon. It's going to be a really rough environment for them. Maybe they can hang it close, but there's no reason Oregon should be 11-0 going into UW, which should be a fun one. We'll see where UW's at come that time. But I got to say, I was impressed. It's a gritty win, and it was a fun game. That's one of those games where it was ugly for a majority of the way, and you get to overtime, and Oregon almost blows it. They're 17-3 in the start of the fourth quarter, and Penn State fights back, forces a punt, forces a turnover, scores a big touchdown drive. Drew Aller, they're running the ball well. He's using his legs in big moments. He has his moments and then throws the pick in the second overtime to end the game. So it was a fun weekend, man. It was a fun weekend. I wish the UW result was different. Seahawks win. We got a big week this week. Some good games. Starts with 2 Monday night games. Hopefully one ends up well. Maybe both of them. Some ugly matchups on paper, but I mean overall, that was one of the best college football weekends on paper the whole year. Who knows if we'll get one similar to that coming up in the NFL this week? We got Niners Rams on Thursday, Seahawks Bucks Sunday. Some other decent matchup. We got Texans Ravens could be fun. Commanders Chargers, interesting. Patriots Bills Sunday Night Football. But I mean, we'll see, man. We'll see. You never know. It's the thing about NFL. Anything matchups on paper, you can look at them and they always seem to deliver. They always do. But it's going to be the end of the show for me. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I know it was a long one. I had a lot to say. I had a lot to get off my chest. But thank you for getting here. If you enjoy the show, give it a download, share it with a friend. Give me a follow on all platforms. David Cawley FB Show. And I appreciate you. Thank you guys. See you on Thursday.